Welcome back. You are watching Metropole Business Center right here on Metropole TV, the first 24-hour business channel. And today we are focusing our shift on the agri-business sector. And before we go into our interview today, where we'll be discussing matters the flowers in the flower industry in the country, I just want to let you know how commodities are trading out there today. If you're looking to go and buy your sukuma wiki, to go and buy your maize and beans and cabbage, I want to tell you how much you'll be expecting to get these prices at the market, especially right here in Nairobi. And we start with dry maize, where here in Nairobi we have a 90 kg bag of maize trading at currently 3,100 shillings. These prices have been changing steadily right from the month of August. As we began the month, the prices were 2,900 per 90 kg of maize. 90 kg bag of maize. The prices went at 2,900 up to around 17th of August, where the prices shifted to 3,100. This indicating a price change of 200 shillings. And these prices went at 3,100 shillings up to around 21st of August, where the prices were 3,000 shillings per 90 kg bag of this dry maize. And up to around the first week of this month, which is 1st of August, that prices changed back to 3,100 shillings. From maize, we go to tomatoes, where a 13 kg crate of tomatoes went at 3,500. That is the beginning of the month of August. That was 3,500 shillings. Up to around 20th of this month, of the month of August, which the prices shifted to 3,400 shillings. And then went back down to 3,200 shillings at around mid-August. So that's the price of tomatoes. When we go to onions, the price has been steady. That is a 13 kg crate of onions went at 1,060 shillings. That is 13 kg crate of onions. Cabbages, 126 kg. Cabbage was at 1,400 shillings, and the price has remained steady like that from the month of August up to date, the month of October. That is 1,400 shillings as per 126 kg of cabbages. This is courtesy of Metropole Harvest, where you can always get data of commodities, how prices are shifting commodities from one commodity to another. We'll be giving you updates of this commodity from time to time. Stay tuned every day on Wednesday right here on Metropole Business Center, Agribusiness. And we go straight to the interview, where we'll be discussing matters the flowers. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. This is Clement Tulezi, the Kenya Flower Council CEO, right here in studio. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
You've seen how the prices are shifting. Before we go into flowers, what do you make of this? We see 90 kg bag of maize going at 2,900, then 3,000, then 3,100. We see a cabbage at 1,400, tomatoes. What do you make of this?
I think it's just trying to get the balance between the cost of production and affordability. Mm-hmm. I think when we are talking about food security, we need to look at basically how much a consumer can be able to afford in terms of buying the essentials like food. Mm-hmm. But also we need to look at how much the farmer is spending in terms of production of that food, mm-hmm. so that even as we look at the food becoming more affordable, mm-hmm. The grower should be able to meet break even, mm-hmm. in terms of having it easier for them to be able to afford the production as mm-hmm. well as make profit. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get it right, you can see all those fluctuations that are happening. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the consumer, especially talking about the domestic market, the mm-hmm. consumer cannot afford some of these prices. Mm-hmm. That yeah, it's something that the government needs to look at, cushion the grower much better, mm-hmm. so that the cost of production goes down, mm-hmm. and at the same time, the food can be in abundance to reach the consumer. So we'll continue having those shifts as we go along, so long as the farmer is finding it very difficult to continue producing en masse, mm-hmm. what can be consumed in the domestic market.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now let's shift our focus on these beautiful flowers. What's the state of these flowers in the country right now?
I think generally we are stable at the moment. We are stable. I wouldn't say that we are down on our knees. We have been there before during this period, but we are becoming much more stable as we move along. We have seen in the international market the demand has come back, and therefore if we are able just to surmount some of the challenges we have, we are able to remain afloat. We can't say that we are doing 100% at the moment. We are still a bit lower than what we expect. But the indications are that within a number of months, maybe by June 2021, we should be in full recovery. The most interesting thing is that, flowers, we are almost 100% export, and therefore anything that happens in the market has a direct ramification on what happens here in terms of production. Exactly. And how much we can be able to ferry the volumes into that market. But the stability is coming back slowly. So we are stable at the moment. I wouldn't say that we are extremely on the negative side. We are going towards the positive as much as possible. So the outlook is looking very good, very, very positive, probably faster than we expected, because we were one of the industries that was hit hardest during the height of COVID. But we have created some resilience and some shock absorption that we are able to survive. We're an industry that is very innovative, and every time we have a crisis like this, we always go back and check what can we do to remain afloat, because we are a major industry in this country, and internationally Kenya is recognized as being among the top 4 exporters of cut flowers, and we want to maintain that position. And therefore we have to work extremely hard. I would tell you that all the challenges we've gone through are not just unique to us. All our other major competitors are also going through their own motions too. So it's not just us, it's the entire cut flower industry that is going through this. But we are sure that with what we are doing locally and the support from government and also the international market, we can be able to survive.
You mentioned that you had these shock absorbers. How strong were your shock absorbers in terms of the impact of COVID-19? We saw a lot of job losses across the industries. Just how bad was yours?
Well, we were really down. At the height of it, I will talk about from mid-March all the way to the beginning of May. Things were very difficult. We were not affected mostly because we had a lockdown in Kenya. But what was happening in international market, especially our major market, which is Europe, was what caused that. Suddenly, when COVID was ravaging Europe, I remember at some point I was there, and everything went down, and there was completely no demand, for flowers. Not just from Kenya, but from all over. So we went down probably up to 20% from 100% of what we expected. And you recall that we always do our major sales during Valentine's, and we were just coming out of the Valentine. So we were still on the upward curve, just coming down. So our volumes were still high, and then suddenly we have this drop, and you are almost nil. A lot of buyers cancelled their orders. We saw what happened to the auction. It almost collapsed. And that was really terrible time for us. And we had to do what we needed to do because we had to survive. In the midst of crisis, you always think how you will survive until the following day.
Yeah, exactly.
We were short of cash, so liquidity was a big challenge for us. We have survived just because we export every day. So by the time we started looking at these, the first was to cut down the cost, especially on labor, because labor generally accounts for almost 40% of our cost of production. And therefore, if we are able to reduce that, then we have taken away a big chunk of what we spend. And also because we were not exporting huge volumes, we had to do that because you cannot have workers who will just sit on the farm and you can't quantify what they're doing. So we went into discussion with government, also with the trade unions and everyone concerned, and we did it in a very humane way. in a very sober and agreed way, in which a lot of workers went away on either paid or unpaid leave. And it was agreed that when the situation stabilizes, then they will come back to continue with their work. And that has worked very well going forward. We stayed very keen on what is going to happen. In fact, for us as Kenya Flour Council, we were meeting every week, just assessing the situation and looking at how we can support our members, growers, exporters to be able to survive. So every day we were making decisions. We will approach government with the suggestions. This is how we are looking at the industry, and this is the support we need from you. And you saw that the government supported us even when we had a lockdown. Flowers was one of the essential commodities. So we were able to move the flowers from the farms, the little that we could, from the farm all the way to the airport. We asked the government that they shouldn't lock down any of our supply chain, and that really worked, especially on logistics and movement of workers and transport of the product. It worked very well. We gave them stickers. We identified all the vehicles that will be on the road. We informed the police what is going to happen, and we were working very closely with government. And that made sure that with the movement of produce right from the farm, the little that we could do, all the way to the airport, and with the availability of cargo flights, because it's only passenger flights that were grounded. Cargo flights were still coming in, the few that could still come in. And so that really helped us to cushion and continue to demonstrate to the world that yes, we understand that we are going through a crisis, but the reality is that we can be able to survive during that time. And we talked to the market. We were talking to the market so often, understanding what was happening there, asking them to continue supporting us because we are a major industry. We employ over 200,000 people directly on the farms. So we were telling them that if they do not order from Kenya, the job losses will be immense, and poverty and other things you can imagine that accompany that will be a reality in Kenya. And for a long period, they listened to us. And slowly we started seeing the supermarkets opening up, those who, our intermediary buyers making orders. And so from Mother's Day, which was basically the second week of May, we started seeing orders coming up and peaking very, very well. So from there, it has remained steady, moving forward. So we are happy with at least support we got from government and also the market. But within ourselves, we were having a lot of discussion every day on how we are able to respond to the emerging issues, including the challenge that we've had, which is basically on the freight capacity and also the rates on how much we are able to pay for every kilo of flowers that we export. And we involved almost everyone that you can think in the supply chain to be able to find a common solution to all those challenges.
And we saw government giving flowers to UK health workers. You will clarify that, but what was the rationale behind that?
Yeah, it's an initiative that we took up as Kenya Flour Council together with KEPSA and government, just to demonstrate to the world that yes, we are going through this, but it can't last forever. For us, it was continue to tell the world that you remain important to us. We care about you. Whatever is happening with you is also happening with us. And we have a product here that can bring hope. We were calling it the flower of hope because it was not just hope for us, but also hope for our major market.
So this was bought or it was free?
It was simply a gesture of friendship. It was a gesture of friendship, and through that, we believe that the message was very clear, that our markets appreciate that we care about them, and when things become much more stable, we'll continue with the friendship. And generally, we have seen that the orders we are having from UK and we are having from Netherlands and generally Europe have been immense. So you want a friend who will be there at a difficult moment and also a good moment. And that is what we are demonstrating. We have to continue to nurture our relationship with the market as much as possible. And this was just one way of doing that. There were other ways because we were talking to them as often as possible. This is what just came to the limelight. But there was a lot of discussion between ourselves.
A lot of, reactions. Why are we?
Yes.
The Kenyans. The nurses are there, and
we also okay. Let me just correct that. We distributed this to over 50 hospitals in Kenya. It was not just the UK. Maybe because this had an international outlook. That is why it caught the public, attention. But the reality is that if you go, we went to Kenyatta, we went to Mbagathi Hospital, we went to Eldoret. We were on all over this country doing the same thing. Just telling those who are on the front line that yes, we have flowers here that will demonstrate that whatever you're doing is important to us. So it was not just international, it was also local. A lot of hospitals, over 50 hospitals received these flowers. And we can show you a lot of images and videos and whatever of all the hospitals we went to and how this was appreciated. So it was international, but also local. So we did appreciate also our frontline workers that were working locally.
And thank you so much for the flower that you will bring me. And now let's talk about Australia. And we know that there are restrictions to the Kenyan flowers. We had them wanting Kenya to have the flowers fumigated. Just how far is this?
Yeah, we have set up, there is a fumigation facility in Nairobi. It was difficult because when you look at Australia, the way they do their biosecurity measures are slightly different from how we do here. For them, anything that moves is of interest to them. We use some biologicals here. Biologicals, we mean we use certain insects that eat pests, but they will be retained in the flowers when we are exporting. But by the time they reach Australia, Australia has an interest in it. I have been to Australia last year, just looking at how they do those biosafety measures, and we had a lot to learn from them, right from ourselves, and also our NPPO KEFIS had also a lot to learn. We have, by then, I will tell you, early last year, our rate of non-compliance was extremely high, but we have improved. The latest we have is that our non-compliance is below 22%, which is very, very encouraging, despite the fact that we have fallen a bit on the volumes that we are exporting. But we are still the #1 exporter of flowers to Australia. So we are doing everything possible to be able to continue exporting as much volumes as we can. Australia never told us it's only fumigation. They gave us options. #1, they told us that we can get export license from companies in Australia who are importing from here, and based on that, we can continue exporting. We can also reinforce what we call our systems approach, and with that, we can continue exporting. And #3 was fumigation. So we are looking at all these options. And if you go to a typical farm, you realize that a lot of farms have put a special treatment just for consignments going to Australia. And this has worked very well. What we are working on now is to continue to encourage a lot of exporters to come back, telling them that, yes, it was a challenging market, but with what we have put in place, we are able to continue exporting. So we are looking at putting up more facilities. We are talking to a lot of investors who either have come in with some active ingredient that they're testing for flowers, or they are interested in putting up more facilities. We also have farms who want to put up these on their farms, just to do it on the farms before exporting. So we don't want to lose this market. Australia, we have worked extremely hard to create the Australian market, and we are not ready to lose it. So we are doing everything we can. Together with government, regulators, and the industry ourselves, to be able to surmount this. We believe that in the next couple of months, you will see a lot of facilities popping up. And we are not just looking at fumigation facilities for Australia alone. We are having also challenges as far as pests are concerned in other major markets, including Europe. And therefore, when we have these facilities, it will not only serve Australia, but look across to the other markets that are major to us, because the issue of plant health is becoming much more global than before. And because we are a dominant player in the industry, the torch will always shine on us, especially in Europe, where we command almost 40% of the market share. The torch will always shine on Kenya because of our size.
And let's talk about we've seen a section of flower farms closing down, you know, for reasons they know best. Does this worry you? We've seen Finlay close last year, beginning of the year. I mean, does this worry you, because you will be seeing flower production drop?
As a business, definitely we'll be worried if we saw quite a number of farms closing. But the reality is that the flower industry probably just works like any other industry. It's a business like any other. And even if you went to any other sector, you will always find one or two players closing or changing their business into something else. What we saw with Finlays, it was a restructuring that they thought was necessary so that they remain much more profitable. And this happens to every business. Probably as we go through this phase, COVID may come to expose us. What we call the soft belly of the industry, it may come to expose, and we have just realized how vulnerable we are. But what is important is for us to be able to craft a strategy on how we can cushion growers much better. And I think the cost of production is a major thing for us. When we look at taxation, working taxation for both national government and county government, looking at the cost of inputs, for example, the cost of labor, the cost of electricity, water, and all the other ingredients that we need on the farm is still very, very high. The cost of freight is also a big issue. If we were cushioned, probably like our competitors, Ethiopia, are cushioned as far as freight is concerned and the cost, then probably things will be much better. So we are petitioning government a lot of times to really look at this sector and appreciate that we are a major player. So where they can give us rebates or holidays and cushion us from a lot of taxation, then it will make easier for the farms to continue operating. We have seen double taxation between national government and county governments. Some of them, as Kenya Flower Council, we have challenged legally, I mean, through litigation in court. We have won the cases that we have put in court, but we don't need to be spending our money on litigation. We believe that the government can look at this sector and understand the importance of how much we inject in the economy, both from the export, but also from the workers that we employ, and give us cushion us a bit so that we're able to survive. So long as that continues to happen, you will always find that one or two players are falling out or changing their business. If we see in mass, maybe in a year, 10 farms have closed, that will be a very worrying trend. We haven't reached there yet. We can only probably just pick one or two examples of farms that have changed their businesses, but you will expect that that will happen at some point.
All right.
Yeah, in any business you will expect. So we are still stable. We'll be very worried if that becomes the trend, but at the moment I think we are still very stable.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't, because we need those flowers on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So as we finish this, what are the new markets that you are looking into?
What we have done in our strategy is that we have aligned that also with the government export and development strategy. And the thrust of it is diversification into new markets. We know that Europe takes up almost 72% of our produce, and that is good. It's a stable market, but there are risks when you depend on a single market. So we want to diversify this so that we have a better presence in other markets. A lot of our growers are trying some of new and emerging markets, and having aligned that with government, we are working in tandem with the government departments, relevant government departments, so that we have better inroads into those markets. So we have identified about 8 new markets that we are looking at. The US is an important market for us. We have done a lot of promotion as Kenya Flower Council, and through that we have seen the figures going up in terms of our market share, together with support from our development partners. Canada is one of the markets we are looking at, Russia, and the larger Eastern Europe. We are looking at United Arab Emirates, China, Japan. We are the dominant player, but we want to continue expanding our share there. We are also looking at Turkey and Australia, and places like Malaysia also. We've had a lot of discussion also with the embassies here to be able to get into those markets. But also the intra-Africa trade. When we look at West Africa, for example, Ghana, Nigeria is an interesting market for us. We always export our flowers to Europe, and they import our flowers from there back to Africa, which is very, very interesting. Majorly because of logistics and other factors. But if we can have an intra-Africa trade based on the Africa Trade Free Area agreements and other regional agreements that we have in Africa, then it's a market that looks very potential. So we are doing everything to do a lot of promotions in those countries. If COVID did not come, we had a big plan on how we are going into those markets, doing a lot of promotion. So we see a lot of potential opening up of new markets and furthering our market share in all those emerging markets.
All right. With that said, what's the future of the industry?
The future of the industry will look very interesting. I think we will move into areas of, of more consolidation. We may be able to see fewer players going forward. I'm not talking about shrinking of the industry, but we may see acquisitions, mergers, consolidation coming in. Those who are much more efficient may continue becoming bigger. Those who are not much more efficient, we may see them being acquired by others. That is the outlook, but we don't see the market shrinking. I mean, our size shrinking. The reality is that we have very few countries in the world at the altitude and those around the equator that can be able to do flowers. Basically, the kind of flowers we grow. Basically, we are talking about maybe just 4 countries: Kenya, Ethiopia, Ecuador, and Colombia. And you'll understand that in terms of production, those have remained the 4 major producers of cut flowers as we speak. So that factor will not change. The ecological factors that we enjoy as a country will continue to be a reality, and therefore anyone who wants to invest in the cut flower industry will definitely invest in Kenya. So that is not going to change. The terrain locally may change in terms of the players. They may change here and there. But in terms of our size, I think we are still going to grow and continue being a major player within this industry.
Definitely. Thank you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for making time for us. That's Clement Tulezi, the CEO, Kenya Flower Council, speaking to us on matters the flower industry right here on Metropole Business Center today, Wednesday, where we were having a discussion on matters agribusiness. We'll definitely do this again next week. That's where we end for now, but don't go anywhere because we have a lot of great programs lined up for you. Continue enjoying your view on Metropole TV. I'm Victoria Munga. Have a blessed day.